Welcome to Center Porch News and Perspective. Today we're going to talk about for the next few minutes the ongoing issues on our college campuses and in our city streets with the Palestinian protesters. So let's get this right out in the open. They're supporting a known terrorist organization, Hamas in Gaza, and we've started to see Hezbollah flags being flown. That's another Iran proxy terrorist organization in Lebanon. So let's get this straight out in the open. Everybody's whining and crying because the police are too brutal. No, they're not. They're actually enforcing the law, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think that they're supporting it like they should be. These students, whether there's agitators in them or not, like Antifa, BLM, or any one of the other organizations that, back about 4 years ago helped burn down cities, they're supporting known terrorists. Now, the Anti-Terrorism Act, USC 2339B, makes it unlawful for within the United States or any person who is subject to jurisdiction of the United States in any nation to not only provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization as has been designated by the Secretary of State. Now, that being said, that is the law. They're providing support. They're taking down American flags and raising terrorist flags. They're taking over schools. For a call of the Jewish nation and people. They're harassing Jewish students. They're yelling things on our own shore. This isn't Iran. This is the new woke leftist socialist group of individuals that we now have in our nation. They're calling for the death of the nation that they live in. They're removing our national flag to put up these terrorist flags. And at Columbia University, we saw how the police department reacted. They took down the Palestinian flag, poured protesters away from the flagpole, and reflew the American flag. Yes, they're using flashbangs and smoke grenades and rubber bullets. And somebody said on Twitter the other day, "Oh, they're hitting with rubber bullets and they hurt." Well, here's the alternative to that, Jack. They could be using lead, and the results are a little more permanent than a bruise. Saw one officer walking this dude, and he decided he's going to lay down. The cop wasn't having any of that. He picked him up and he carried him to the cop car. At what point the Justice Department of the federal government and mayor is going to get so sick of this that we take our streets back? They're saying Israel is the new Nazi regime. Here's an interesting thing about that. Nazi actually stands for National Socialism. And that's exactly what they're promoting, socialism. And they admit that they're promoting socialism, but they're calling those of us that back Israel and those of us that love our nation, they're calling us National Socialists. The other day there was a march, I believe it was in New York City, that they're walking down the street with the communist flag. There was a time when being a communist in this country got you in a whole lot of trouble. It was during the McCarthy era. You know, communists in every house. People were blackballed, blacklisted, couldn't get jobs. We've turned around so much in the last 6, 7, 8 decades that we have become as a nation what we used to fight. And it was a slow progress from the days of FDR putting in all of the social programs, and I'm not saying they weren't needed, could be a little bit different. And people run against Clinton. Now, Clinton did some bad things. I'm not a Democrat. I am a Republican. There isn't a solid, strict constitutional party. That'll be a discussion for another day. But he actually put in this 3 strikes a year out enforcement. Cops on the streets. And to be perfectly clear, I don't care if he had relations with Monica Lewinsky or not back then, because it didn't impede his ability to do his job. Do I agree with everything Clinton did? Nope. But then again, I don't agree with everything most presidents did. I can find good and bad in all of them. I'm not so solidified in one side or the other that I can't see good and bad in both parties. There are Democrats and Republicans bad things. I'm not a party man, never have been. But it seems to me that it should come a time when both sides need to stand up and go, hey, our country is screwed. It's time to take it back. 2 of the biggest hindrances of going on now are 2 elected officials that we have in Congress. Ms. Tlaib and Ms. Omar. Both of them are anti-American. Tlaib even has family within the Hamas movement. How do we allow anti-American, terrorist-supporting, terrorist-connected like I said, Tlaib has intimate connections to Hamas. And Omar admittedly in this country of marrying your brother, incest, so she could get her ability to come here. Those states need to redefine. You're breaking the law, you're supporting terrorist organizations. There needs to be a no confidence vote. They be removed from office and barred that they're supporting and leading this charge of anti-Israel, anti-America. Need to be brought up supporting on should have immediately stripped and sent back to her home country. And if chance they turn around and podcast, somebody sends it to them, I don't care. It's not defamation of character, it's fact. And I would be happy to go onto a podcast and discuss it. These 2, along with the clique, with AOC and others, or the detriment to what our nation stands for. There was a reason that we were that light and hope for other people. Used to, when they would come across the southern border, it was to make a better life for themselves. Now we have people on the known terror watch list. Across the border are fighting age from their own nations, and they're bringing with them their ideologies. And I will do a podcast on at another point in time. That'll be another broadcast. But we're allowing these people in, and they're supporting these elected enemies of America. And we see what's happened. It started out right in 2020 with marches by BLM and admitted capitalism was great because they went out and bought a bunch of houses. They burned down our cities and nothing happened. Oh, it's just protest. They tore down our history. They're now assaulting our college campuses. Oh, it's just protest. It's not protest. Protest is when you march up and down the street chanting a slogan, carrying a sign. And it's in support of something that you need. A local college here, one of the Purdue affiliates in Fort Wayne, Indiana, they protested too because they were eliminating a major class within the curriculum that would have lasting effects on the people going for that degree, whether it be a major or a minor. That's protest. What's going on our colleges now and what happened in 20 with the burning down of our city and demanding of defunding of the police and all the crap that has gone on for years. Isn't protest. It's an assault on our way of life. And despite what you may see, the majority of the left agree, but even the left is starting to call for actions to be taken. That they lit 4 years ago, we now see starting to explode again. It's time to deploy justice, local justice, local law enforcement departments, and the American people start taking things back. Life is that simple. There's that threat of civil war that everybody keeps. Well, if things don't get calmed down, it's eventually going to happen. This isn't protest. It's insurrection on an insurmountable base for the destruction of our nation and everything it stands for. And if you want to blame anywhere, you lay the blame on President Obama because he said we need to fundamentally change our national ideology. We see that coming true today. Eventually, things are going to get so bad in this nation that somebody, somewhere, within the ability to do so, is going to start declaring martial law because the violence is going to get so bad. Now, When you look at this administration, they're not considering these people destroying our nation, destroying our country, destroying everything that we believe, we hold dear, and we have built over 200 years. According to this administration, they're not. Those of us who believe in waving the flag, saying the Pledge of Allegiance, at the cross, standing at the national anthem, those that believe the Constitution is second only to Scripture, those of us that go to church on Sunday morning or Sabbath morning, if you're a Sabbatarian, that we hold to the Bible and the Constitution, that we hold to the Second Amendment of our gun right, we're the problem. We're the ideology that this nation was founded on. You want to be a Muslim and go to the mosque on Fridays? Have fun. Do it. As a Christian, I don't believe in that, and I'll tell you where you're wrong. But I will support your ability to do so. And like in New York, where, the entire community to hear the call to worship 5 times a day, and you block city roads and grocery stores and clinics because you're on your little mats praying, that's a different issue. Now, you want to pray in public, I don't care about that, but you don't hinder anything else while you're doing it. Just the same as I don't care if it puts up their tabernacle 7 days in their front yard or praying. I may not agree with you, but I will wholeheartedly defend your right to do so. And when it comes to free speech, if you want to talk about the war in Israel, how Israel is demolishing Gaza, as long as you keep it peaceful, as long as of Israel, as long as you don't incite violence, which is exactly what your speech is doing, then I will wholeheartedly support and defend freedom to say things. If you turn it into an insurrection, which is what this is on a national level, there's where I quit defending you. Because peaceful protest and right of to violating the laws in our land against destroying our nation. And if people forget, you don't actually have a democracy here. This is a constitutional republic. The constitutional part is we have a set of rules that we founded this nation on, what we go by. The Republican part of this is the fact that we elect people to do our bidding. The absolute say that you have in this nation, as far as to the political process, is you get to go every 4 years, your opinion in on. That's where it ends. We've been sold the lie that it's a democracy. Everybody, you're not a constitutional republic, and it is about time that people are forced to understand the rules and the laws and the regulations of this nation, and we start nailing these people doing. Burning up our colleges, burning down our cities, chanting for blood in the streets, calling for jihad and intifada, calling for the dismantling of a constitutional republic to be replaced by socialism. And for you going around yelling, we need to be socialists, we need this, you're flying style flags, you're wearing on your shirt and your like the Chinese national flag things. Think it's going to work? How about you people that fled countries? Talk to Cubans that made it here and landed on these shores. Chinese and the North Koreans that escaped. Talk to people in Iran that have escaped. There's a wonderful interview done on the Dr. Phil show with the son of the leader and developer of Hamas. He was trained in Hamas. And he said Hamas needs to go away. You talk to these people. They will tell you why they came to this nation. Because socialism, Sharia law, communism doesn't work. They fled the countries for a purpose, to go where they would have freedom. So they wouldn't have to wait in a line at a grocery store to get a loaf of bread. So they had right to own their own property, start their own business, have their own money, have as many or a few kids as they want to get an education, to be treated with equality, not equity, not any of this far-fetched idea of what, but an equal playing field. And even the majority of the community doesn't go along with things like BLM. It's time this nonsense and this foolishness stops. It is time that those that are elected to represent us actually represent the interest of the American people and our nation. It's time to get the It's time to bring the hammer down on these so-called protests that are a lead up to jihad and war in our streets before it comes to that. Time to take America back. And as I said, I have no issue whatsoever of any of these elected officials or any of these leaders of these protests, if they hear this podcast, to get in touch with me and we'll do an interview. Because I do believe in allowing both sides to present their case. I'm a studier of history. Like Rome, we're being destroyed from the inside. And history shows that totalitarianism, socialism, communism do not work. That's why Reagan said we are the last bastion of hope on this planet. And if we go, there will be no place left in this world for freedom. We are becoming the enemy that we used to try to eliminate. Thank you for listening to this podcast. For those that do. God bless this nation. But that won't happen until we get things where they need to be. Have a blessed day. Raise your flag. Let's bring our nation back to where it needs to be.